So this morning I want to go ahead and finish up what I was doing yesterday. I was talking about how Wally Chubat, Joel Richardson, and others were in the days of the, I don't know, 9/11 or after 9/11. They were trying to push a Muslim Antichrist narrative, as they say. And selling books, doing it. And in my yesterday's video, I pointed out to you that you cannot sell books and be the servant of the truth, because the truth cannot be bribed, cannot be paid for. Truth is priceless. It is like a double-edged sword. You can't buy and you cannot sell it. Okay? You have to search for it on your own, find it, and keep it as a treasure. And so I proceeded to, just with one group of people in Japheth, prove that much or all of Europe is going to be participating in the Ezekiel 38 war, 38-39 war. But I didn't finish it up. I told you about how Persia, Ethiopia, or not Ethiopia, but Cush, and I've explained how Cush is and it says indefinitely to the south, so it goes to all the way into deep Africa, but it also goes into Hindu Kush. I mean, we can look this up. See, watch this. So it goes into Afghanistan, Tajikistan, Pakistan, etc. It's a mountain range, okay? So it's a very, very large piece of land, all the way from deep Africa all the way to India. Now, but what I wanted to do was talk about the House of Togarmah. So let's go back to Ezekiel 38. We've talked about Rosh, or the head captain of Meshech and Tubal. Now it says that Gog is the head, or Rosh, captain of Meshech and Tubal. Alright, now we know that Georgia means Gog, but is there a land of Gog today? Let's look. What do you see there? Land of Gog. But the Bible says the land of the land of Magog. Gog of the land of Magog. So that's a little bit of a mystery. Okay? We can look at this a little bit closer if we want, and we can see if we find it. Okay, Gog land. It's just a little bitty island. Is it significant? Well, it might be, because you see Russia apparently is building a base on here. A Navy base, or an Air Force base of some sort. Where is it? It's in the Gulf of Finland, where it's almost as close to Helsinki as it is to St. Petersburg, the original capital of Russia. But I want you to notice St. Petersburg for a second, right here. Alright? So, very short distance, what, maybe 80 miles or so? Possibly. Not sure what the miles might be. I want you to look at the location. I can't back it out any further. So what I want to do is go to regions of Europe. This is not a very good map, but it's the best I can do. And where is St. Petersburg? I gotta go find this again. Okay. So straight above Belarus. Where's Belarus? Right here. Okay, in this area right here. Right there. Right? St. Petersburg, the capital of Russia, is right here. Now, keep that in the back of your mind, and what I want to do is go and show you this. I have to bear with me. I have to I don't know why they can't do a search correctly. All right. I don't know where this is going to lead me to. The origin of the name Magog is unclear. It may come from the Akkadian Matgugi land of Gog. That is, the land of Gyges or Lydia. Could be. Right? Ancient medieval views. Josephus refers to Magog, son of Japheth, as a progenitor of the Scythians, or people north of the Black Sea. Same people as we were talking about yesterday. Same group of people. According to him, the Greeks called Scythia Magogia. Very interesting. So let us look. I don't want to get off the topic too much from here, but I will continue a little bit, because you got to understand the Greeks were the sons of Japheth, so they would know. All right? An alternative identification derived from examination of the order of which the tribal names are listed in Ezekiel 38 would be place Magog between Cappadocia and Media. Now, I don't agree with this at all about Rabbi Shlomo Gansfried, and because that is not what it is. The Chinese, the Japanese, they are Hittites. If you follow the Silk Road, you will see that the Turkic peoples, the ones with the Chinese eyes, are all along the Silk Roads, beginning from Turkey all the way to Japan. Now, when did they not become Turkic? Well, many of them carry the name Turkic people with them, all the way to Siberia, as you know, Turkestan, etc. But the Greeks drove the Hittites out of what is called Turkey today, out of Anatolia. And the Greeks settled there, and other Japhetic tribes settled there. And they did this before the prophet Ezekiel. Which is why you can't, which is why this particular narrative of Rabbi Shlomo Gansfried is wrong. Because the Greeks were already there, had already driven out the Hittites when Ezekiel made his prophecy. All right. So let's go back to, oh, that's right. We want to continue. This is very, very important. Jordan Getica mentions Magog as the ancestors of the Goths. That would probably be correct. As does Historia Bretonum. But Isidore of Seville asserts that this identification was popular because of the similarity of the syllable. Well, Rosh and Russia are similar too. Isidore, let's see. So, etymology, I can't remember what this Roman numeral is. Johann Magnus in 1488 through 1544 stated that Magog migrated to Scandinavia via Finland 88 years after the flood, and that his 5 sons were Sueno, ancestor of the Swedes, which they get their name Sweden from. Gethar, or Gog, ancestor of the Goths. Ubbo, who later ruled the Swedes and built Old Uppsala. Thor and German Magnus accounts became accepted at the Swedish court for a long time, and even caused the dynastic numerals of the Swedish monarchs to be renumbered accordingly. Queen Christina of Sweden reckoned herself as number 249 in the list of kings going back to Magog. That is how well they kept their records. Magnus also influenced several later historians such as Daniel Justinianus of 1676 and 1752, who derived the roots of the Finns from Magog. Of course they would be Scythians. Of course they would be related to the Irish and the Gauls. Of course they would look like them. Why wouldn't they? According to several medieval Irish chronicles. Most notably this particular book. I cannot speak Irish. I'm sorry, folks. You want to go and look it up study it for yourself. Go right ahead. And this book, The Irish Race, are a composite. And look, I want to show you folks something. This is the reason why you Americans cannot be resting on your laurels and assuming anything concerning the Ezekiel 38-39 war. I have proven several times in my videos that the United States of America has proven to be Israel's enemy, pretending to be its friend. The Irish people, look where they are. The vast majority of them are the United States now. Let me continue. Are a composite. That's right, a composite mixed, including the descendants of Japheth's son, Magog from Scythia. Bath McMagog, is a figure in Irish legendary history. He was a son of Magog, son of Japheth, the progenitor of the Scythians, the son of Noah. Boath, Jobhath, and Phatoch are the three sons of Magog. You can read this just like I can. Magog is also supposed to have a grandson called Eber, not to be confused with the Eber I believe son of Arphaxad, who came way, way, way later. Okay, not to be confused with that Eber, whose offspring spread throughout the Mediterranean, coastlands of the Mediterranean Sea. So now you know where Magog is, don't you? Makes you a little bit uneasy, doesn't it? I showed you in a previous video how the name God, G-O-D, is associated with the people of Gog and Magog. I did. Now we're going to go to the House of Togarmah. In a video that I did several months ago, I just pointed to, I made a mistake. You see, when the Bible gives you direction, follow the direction. Okay? When it doesn't give you direction, you're going to have to do your homework. You're going to have to look around, like I just did here. But concerning the House of Togarmah, you don't have to do that. And I'll show you the mistake that I made. Watch this. I just went on Wikipedia, right? And well, you can see Oxford Bible, but I looked at Wikipedia and they've changed everything on me here. But what I did was I went to Wikipedia, and it is claimed that the House of Togarmah is the people of Turkey today, generally speaking. But what does Ezekiel 38 say? It is the only one that he gives the exact location. It is the only one where the mouth of Jehovah gives the exact location. Are you ready? After he talks about Gomer, and I went over the sons of Gomer yesterday, I just went over Gog of the land of Magog today, and now we're going to look at the House of Togarmah. Of what? The north. Let's look up this particular word, Yericha. Extreme parts, the extreme recesses, as far as north as you can possibly go. If you're going to take his word literally, let's take his word literally. Let's have some respect for what he is saying. Let's go ahead and have some faith and believe what he says when he says the north extreme recesses. Now you know what that means, folks. That is as far north as you can possibly go. Let's go look. Alright, here is Israel right here. Let's go north. And north is actually kind of like this. It's not exactly straight up on the map. It is more like like this. Kind of like, whoops. What is that? Where is St. Petersburg, the original capital of Russia? Right here. And what is the far north? Well, that would be Russia, but it would also include Finland. They call themselves the land of Magog. So, essentially, Norway, Sweden, Finland, Russia. We've got them all accounted for, folks. A House of Togarmah of the extreme north. We've got, now the ships of Tarshish are right here in the Atlantic. Actually, right here in the Atlantic. Alright? Now, Spain and Portugal is still one of the 10 kings of Europe. I believe it's, I can't remember which one it was, Sueve or Haruli, I can't remember which one it was. But I don't have the map here, but if you did the young lions, the merchants of young lions, they are in the Western Hemisphere, and mainly, very likely now, see I have changed my mind slightly as well concerning, because you see the United Kingdom was the colonizer of North America. Now it's arguable because Spain colonized Florida, the Central America, Mexico, much of the western states. Well, what I'm saying is that the people of the United States of America do not get complacent and think that you are not listed here in the table of nations concerning those who are going to come and attack Israel and receive retribution for it. The fire. Because, in my personal opinion, I believe it is foolhardy. Once the nuclear missiles start going off, nations attacking each other with nuclear missiles during the nuclear age, they will. You know this. There's no way in the world the United States is going to escape that. We've just looked at the maps of who is what and what is who. The far north, the furthest northern recesses. And right there on the way is St. Petersburg, the original capital of Russia. Now, there was a question that was asked to me yesterday about how do you explain or how do you interpret what it means is this right here. Thus says Adonai Yehovah. And that day, a word he's going to get the word to ascend in his mind, in his inner heart, to think an evil thought. And you shall say, I will go up to the land of the unwalled villages. Now, years ago I used to say, does that actually mean it's a land of unwalled villages? I used to chide people for jumping the gun on this particular statement. But Because you see, let me put it to you like this. World War II, just before World War II started, the Japanese sent word back, their spies sent word back that the Americans didn't have enough guns to go around because, you see, they were practicing, the American military training was practicing with fake wooden guns. And they interpreted that as the Americans didn't have enough guns. They thought that they could fight a war against the United States. They were wrong. Now, it says, you will say, I will go up to a land of unwalled villages. Does that mean it's a land of unwalled villages? Not necessarily. Here's the next thing. I'm just going to continue to read. I will go to them that are at rest, that dwell safely. Not all of them. No, it does not say all of them are dwelling without walls. That's not what it says. And once again, this phrase that he is saying within his own inner man may be right or it may be wrong. It's his own narrative. This is not Jehovah proclaiming that it is a land without walls. It is this man saying in his inner heart that it is a land without walls. I will go to them that are at rest, that dwell safely. All of them dwell, or not all of them. I just corrected that. That dwell. Wait a minute. That dwell with a wall, not without a wall. Did you see that? Chomah. That is dwelling with walls. Bars and gates. Wait a minute. Does this say unwalled villages? This says open regions. Oh, folks, this gets a little deeper, doesn't it? Now you see that we have been deceived by King James Version. Let's try this one more time. And you shall think an evil thought, and you shall say, go up to the land of open region of hamlets. Now that we've gotten King James Version out of the way, do you know what a hamlet is? Northern Israel is full of hamlets, especially near the Golan Heights. So it's not unwalled villages. It's just hamlets. Come on. Let's wake up, folks. Let's get the boogers out of your eyes and let's have a look. An open region, hamlet. It does not, looky here. Unwalled villages without walls. That's the NASB translation. But the actual definition, folks, look it, is an open region hamlet. Do we need to go look up what a hamlet is? All right, let's do this. Oh, I don't care about William Shakespeare. What is a hamlet? A small settlement. Generally one smaller than a village. Let's look at some pictures. Let's get ourselves educated, folks. Does this look like Israel today? Yes, it does. That's what Israel looks like today. This right here is a Tuscan hamlet. Yes. This is another hamlet. So it's smaller than a village. I would say this right here is probably a village right here then. And this would be a hamlet right here. Okay? Exactly. Now, let's stop tripping over definitions here, shall we? Let's try to get to the heart of this. Let's try to get to the root. A land of hamlets, Perazal, or Perazal. I will go to them that are at west, that dwell safely, security, dwelling. It says a wall. It doesn't say without walls. Look, let's look. A wall. A wall. It doesn't say without walls. A bar. Does it say neither? It just says a bar. A door. Folks, I warned you. I warned you. See, I am barely able myself to study the Bible correctly with Bible Hub using Strong's Concordance. I would never get it right without it. Are you any better than me? Use your Strong's Concordance, folks. Dig deep. To take a spoil, plunder. To take a spoil, just like the Romans did. Just like the Romans did in the year 70. What did the Romans do? Does anybody remember how the Romans entered into the land of Israel to take Jerusalem? They entered through Syria, through the Golan Heights. That's how they entered. That's how they're going to come through again. I'm not saying they're not going to attack also from the Mediterranean Sea. However, it does appear that ships are going to be destroyed in the Mediterranean Sea. So they may be forced to attack from the land and even from their airliners, because there is there are words that attribute to that. To take a spoil, to take a prey. Spoil, robbery, and booty. And to return. Hand. On the desolate places that are now inhabited, that remain, that they sit and they dwell and they inhabit. And upon the people who are gathered out of the Gentiles, which have gotten cattle and goods, and that dwell in the midst of the land. Sheba and Dedan, and the merchants of Tarshish, the capitalists of the west, and Tarshish's young lions, that would be their colonies, thereof shall say unto you, are you come to take a spoil? Have you gathered your company to take a prey, to carry away silver, gold, and to take away cattle and goods, to take a great spoil? Therefore, Son of Man, prophesy and say unto Gog, says Adonai Jehovah, in the day when my people of Israel dwell safely, shall you not know it? Now, that brings to question just exactly, is that just Judah? Or is that all of the people of Israel? Well, if you look at Joel 3, you got to remember, before the last trump sounds, the only people who will be called Israel are the Jews. Once the last trumpet sounds, the new covenant is open for all Israel, from one end of the sky unto the other. All the lost tribes, every one of them, because until then, the Torah of Moses makes every of the lost tribes of Israel a Gentile. Why? Because it is written in Hosea. I believe it's in Hosea. The bill of divorcement. Let's look up the bill of divorcement. All right, so that would be Jeremiah 3, verse 8. When I saw, for all the causes whereby backsliding Israel committed adultery, I put her away and gave her a bill of divorcement. Yet her treacherous sister Yehudah, feared not, but went and played the harlot also. But he never did write out the bill of divorcement for the house of Judah, only the house of Israel. So once Israel, the house of Israel, the lost 10 tribes, received that bill of divorcement, they were, at that point, Gentiles. Now, we'll go then to, I want to go to Joel 3, and then I want to talk about the story of the prodigal son. And the story of the prodigal son, the only one who has ever interpreted that properly that I know of is my own dad. And he gave that information to me, and I'm passing that on to you. Please listen, and you'll see what I mean. How very important the correct interpretation of the story of the prodigal son is. So, what we're going to do is this. The day is coming, and the time is coming, when the captives of Judah and Jerusalem return. Okay? This is very necessary to understand. At that time, he's going to gather the Gentiles. Now we know which ones they are. We just read about it in Ezekiel 38 and 39. And we'll bring them to the valley of judgment. Yehoshaphat means Jehovah judges. There's going to be a valley of judgment. Now, if you look at Hosea, it says the valley of the Jezreel. That would be in the Megiddo Valley. All right? And I'm not saying it's not going to be down in the valley of Yehoshaphat too. It probably will. And will not plead with them, judge them there for my people and my heritage Judah. Is that what it says? No. It's not what it says. So he makes a distinction here. So it appears that Judah and Jerusalem are going to be used as bait to bring the Gentiles down so that he can judge the Gentiles for his heritage Israel. Is this talking about lands? The land of, for my heritage, the land of Israel. No, that's not what it's saying. It says, whom they have scattered among the Gentiles and parted my land. The captives of Judah and Jerusalem will already be there, and the people of Israel, the rest of the people of Israel, will not be there when the day of judgment comes. You see, hey, look at it, read it for yourself. Let's listen to what the word of Jehovah says. So, we see that this judgment is going to be to force them to bring all Israel back. Not just the captives of Judah that were in Jerusalem. You see. And I've pointed out how this begins with a judgment on Tyre, Zidon, and the fake Stinians, Pelesheth. So, judgment upon Tyre, Zidon, and Pelesheth for what happened to Judah and Jerusalem. And then judgment upon the Gentiles for what they did to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Look, it's not me saying it, it's right here. And you can find out in Revelation where it says, put you in the sickle for the harvest is ripe, and come get you down for the press is full. And when is this going to happen? When the sun and the moon shall be darkened and the stars withdraw their shining. When does that occur? You can see it on the sixth seal. You can see much of it on these when the seventh trumpet begins to sound, etc. And Jehovah will roar out of Zion and utter his voice from heaven? Nope. Because he's going to be in Jerusalem. So he's going to utter his voice from Jerusalem. The sky and the earth shall shake, the great big earthquake. And Jehovah will be the hope of his people and the strength of the children of Israel. So, when they come to invade, it will be literally only Judah and Jerusalem that are Israel. Because you see, the bill of divorcement excluded the lost tribes of Israel from being Israel until this day comes. Now we're going to go to the story of the prodigal son, the story of the lost son. Let's go to Strong's Concordance. And he said, a certain man had 2 sons. And the younger of them said to his father, Father, give me the portion of goods that falls to me. This is when the house of Israel divided itself from the house of Judah. And so Israel was divided into the house of Judah and the house of Israel. And not many days after that, the younger son gathered all together and took his journey into the far country. Now this is a parable, folks. A parable that only disciples were supposed to understand, and the Jews in Israel were not going to understand it during those days. But you can understand it. And he took his journey into a far country. What do you mean? That was when he was taken captive by the king of Assyria. Not long after that. All you got to do is read history and you'll see. And there wasted his substance with riotous living. And when he had spent all, there arose a mighty famine in that land, and he began to be in want. And then he went and joined himself to a citizen of that country. He became a Gentile. Lost. Lost forever. That is, until. And that citizen of that country, the Gentile, sent him into his fields to feed the swine. He desired to have his belly filled with the husks that the swine did eat, the trash food that you feed the swine, but no man gave unto him. That means the lost sheep of the house of Israel were scattered among the swine eaters. The lost house of Israel are not of the upper class, the upper crust, but they are of the low peasant class. And when he came to himself, he said, how many hired servants of my father's have bread enough and to spare, and I am perishing with hunger? Do you think that in the last days let me put this proposition out to you. If you read Revelation 11, when the two witnesses come and give a command that there shall be no rain for 3.5 years, do you think that there is going to be plenty of food, or do you think there is going to be a great famine in the land? Everybody is going to get hungry. And it is going to be hunger that's going to cause this young man to want to go back to his father's house. He's going to be hungry. He's going to be starving. Get ready for the two witnesses, folks. I perish with hunger. That's what it says. I will arise and go to my father, and I will say unto him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and your sight. I am no more worthy to be called your son. Make me as one of your hired servants. I am still a Gentile. And he arose and came to his father, but he was a long way off. His father saw him, had compassion, and ran, and fell on his neck, and kissed him. And the son said unto him, Father, I have sinned against heaven, and in your sight, and am no more worthy to be called your son. But the father said unto his servants, Bring forth the best robe. Now, folks, if you don't get it by now, which of Israel's sons had the best robe? It was Joseph. And put it on him, and put a ring in his hand, and shoes on his feet. And bring here the fatted calf, and kill it, and let us eat and be merry, for this my son was dead, and is alive. This, folks, this is when the father comes back to Jerusalem. The two witnesses are going to bring a plague of no rain upon the land. And this plague of no rain, of no food, is going to make everyone destitute. It's going to cause starvation, and it's going to cause the people of ancient Israel, of the lost 10 tribes, to wake up, learn who they are, and say, I'm going to come back home. I'm not even going to claim myself of Israel. I'm a Gentile, just please let me be your servant. And then they will find out, probably at that particular point in time, that they are of the lost house of Israel when they return. For this my son was dead. Okay, yeah, is alive again. Just like Joseph was dead and alive again. He was lost and is found, and they began to make merry. Now his elder son, who's that elder son? That would be Judah, of course, was in the field, and he came and drew nigh to the house, and he heard music and dancing, and he called one of the servants and asked him, how do I know this is Judah? How do I know? You ready? I'll show you. I didn't just pull that out of the clear blue sky, and neither did my dad. Called one of the servants and asked what this meant, and he said unto him, your brother has come, and your father has killed the fatted calf, because he has received him safe and sound. And he was angry and would not go in. Therefore came his father out and entreated him. And he answered, saying to his father, look, these many years do I serve you, neither did I transgress at any time your commandment. That's funny. Then again, not funny. But let's see what the father says. And yet you never gave me a kid that I might make merry with my friends, but as soon as this your son was come and has devoured your living with harlots, you have killed for him the fatted calf. And what did the father say? And this is how you know he is speaking to the house of Judah. And he said unto him, son, you are at all times with me, and all that I have is yours. Bingo! There it is, folks. Can't get away from it. The kingdom goes to the house of Judah. And Yehoshua ben David will take the throne. Yehoshua ben David, the throne of David, of the house of Judah. It will be all given back to the throne of David, of the house of Judah. And there is your answer, folks. This is how, and he said it was necessary that we should make merry and be glad, because your brother was dead and is alive again, and was lost and is found. And you know, that made the older son happy, because he got everything. The kingdom of Judah got everything. So, I hope that this was informative for you. And if any of you actually have questions, please feel free to ask, because they make good topics for me to study and to pass along to you. And for those of you on BitChute who want to blaspheme and curse the Jews, just remember this: those curses are going to fall on you and not going to fall on the Jews. The Jews have had enough of the curses, and now it is time for Deuteronomy 30 to be fulfilled, and for all the curses that were put on the house of Israel and the house of Judah to be laid down upon the Gentiles, exactly as is written in Deuteronomy 30.